Hey guys, we're back for another episode of Velocity Radio. You've got myself, the host again, Brandon. They've let me back for the second episode in a row, so I must be doing something right. And today I am joined by Bradford City's hard-hitting centre-back, Anthony O'Connor. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all, thank you. Thank you very much for coming on to today's podcast. Obviously, you've recently made the big money signing over to Velocity Academy to do your personal training qualifications, so it's great to be able to talk to yourself and hopefully inspire a few students along the way of your life stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll just start with background about yourself, mate, really. What got you into football and how you've gone from there, really?
I suppose all I knew was football from as far back as I can remember. As I said to you just there a while ago, the first game I remember watching was Leeds v Liverpool. I think Liverpool ended up winning it, as I can see the Leeds shirt in the background there.
Yeah, we won't talk about it if Liverpool have won it.
Yeah, I think Liverpool won it. I think that's how I've become a Liverpool supporter. Really, I remember just being in, I think it was a pub with my dad and just watching a game on TV. My dad was obviously watching it, and then, you know, I was only a young kid at the time, but I think that's where the love of football first started. But my mum and dad always used to tell me when I was a baby, football was always in my hands. So, you know, without even knowing, you know, the love of it just came so early to me, and
yeah,
it's all I've ever wanted to be since I was a kid. And, you know, when I got to the age of probably 10, 11, 12, then started realising, you know, that I was quite handy and I was a good player, and, you know, things started happening for me kind of at 12 and 13, really. I started getting in. I come from Cork in Ireland, so
yeah,
it's the biggest county in Ireland. So I got in the Cork team, you know, all the kids in Cork. So I managed to get into that team and managed to get into the Irish team when I was 14. I was playing for the Irish team under 16s, I think, at 14. So
not bad at all, really. That.
Yeah, but there was a few at that age that was kind of getting in at that age. So it was, you know, it was at that age where I kind of thought, you know what, I could go across to England and give it a good go. And, you know, there was a few clubs that were interested, but the trials weren't really piling in on top of me. And I used to say to my mum and dad all the time, if one trial just comes in, I'll be gone. I know for a fact I'll be gone. And Blackburn Rovers wrote to the club that I was with at the time and said we'd like to have him over for a trial, and I knew that was it. I went over and I had a trial, I think, and I think it was after the first day or the first 2 days they pulled me into the office and said, we want to sign you on a 4-year contract. And
Yeah.
it sounds a bit weird, like, you know, and I couldn't believe it at the time, but I think we played a game on the second day. I think it was against Leeds. Everything seemed to go back to Leeds.
Everything Leeds here.
Played Leeds at Torquay Bradford. I think that's the name of the training ground, is it?
Yeah.
We played Leeds there, and it was an under 15, under 14 game, I think it was, and we beat them 7-0. And I ended up playing really well, obviously being a centre back, and, you know, 7-0, you think all the praise is on the forward scoring the goals, but you know, the Leeds team had some good players then, and, you know, I managed to play really well and keep a clean sheet. And I remember the academy manager coming over to me at the time and saying, you know, you played really well. And I just thought nothing of it at the time. And next thing I know, I'm called into the office the next day, and I'm thinking, oh, what did I do wrong? Like, have I done something wrong here? And they said, oh,
yeah.
They said, you've been brilliant, like, and we want to sign you. Like, we don't need you back for another trial or anything. We know we can see your potential straight away. So I rang my mum and dad, and, you know, everyone was over the moon, and it just happened really quickly. Really, I went back to Ireland and finished off my GCSEs, as you call them in England, and that was it. I was gone that summer straight over to England, and that's how my career started, really.
Brilliant. So we'll crop out that bit about you beating Leeds 7-0, pretend that never happened. But how old were you when they offered you that professional deal there to move over to England?
14. Yeah.
Wow.
It was 14. So they offered it to me when I was 14. I think it was around October time. When I was 14, maybe, yeah. And then the following June, I went over full time over to England. So as you can imagine, a 15-year-old kid having to leave his family and his friends, and, you know, that's all you know, really, is being out with your friends and stuff like that. And I had to go in, you know, set out on this dream really of trying to become a footballer. And you know, at first it was really hard. I can't lie, I was very homesick. As you can imagine, 15 years old, you're living in digs with a family really, and other players. You know, you
Yeah.
can't really call them your mates yet because you don't really know many of them, and a lot of them are coming from foreign countries as well. So at the start, yeah, it was really tough. I spent nights crying on the phone to my mum and dad. I spent nights saying I want to come home. You know, I don't know if I can do it, but kind of at the back of my mind, I knew being a footballer is all I ever wanted. So you know, I managed to stay strong and get through the hard times.
No, brilliant, brilliant. What I was meant to ask you all that. What happens like obviously with you being 15 years old, moving across? Did like were you staying with like academy coaches, or is there like liaison families that they put you in with to live with in the local area?
Yeah, so on the actual training ground, the digs were actually on the training ground. So
Okay.
so they put me in with a family there. But I met the family before because whenever I used to come over for a weekend or something, when I knew I was signing, I used to come over every 3 weeks or something, you know, just to try and get used to the place and whatever. I'd come over for 3 or 4 days. But I used to stay with the family that I was going to be staying with when I moved over full time.
Okay. Yeah.
So I knew them already. Um, so that was quite easy. So it's not as if I was just walking in and saying hello, nice to meet you for the first time ever when I moved over. You know, I knew the family already. But the hard bit, I suppose, was it wasn't just like a house. It was like college dorms, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you had a bedroom across the way from you, you had a bedroom next to you, you had a bedroom diagonally to you. So everyone was in the same place. So that was a bit strange to me. You know, I didn't really know how to handle that at the time. But I suppose their way of thinking it was if we get all the lads in the same place, then you know they can make friends easier. You know, they can pal around with each other. You know, they're there for each other if they feel lonely or whatever. You know, so in a way it was okay because I wasn't so lonely. If I could just go into one of the lads' rooms and have a bit of banter or whatever you may call it. Or so yeah, the first year was probably the toughest year I had because I went over as a schoolboy. I didn't actually go over as a first year scholar because I went over.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
I went over a year early, so you really kind of start your scholarship when you're 16. But I went over at 15. But yeah, that first year was the toughest I went through. But when I was 15, I was playing for the under-18s, which was good for me, and I had a lot of good players.
Yeah.
I had a lot of good players in that academy team. I had Phil Jones, who's at Man United now, Grant Hanley, who's the captain of Norwich. A lot of good players, and both of them were centre halves, and I was playing in the team, a centre half ahead of them, and Phil Jones was playing right back.
I'm honestly not too surprised about that. You know, after watching performances.
Because they seen a lot of potential in me, and there was big things kind of expecting me at that age because I was, I used to play so well in the under 16s and the 15s, and I suppose they just wanted to get me into the academy team as fast as they could.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, when I look back at it now, the academy, it was fantastic. The grounding you get, and just the jobs you get around the place. My job was to clean the boot room, on my own. So as you can imagine, you're in there on your own cleaning every boot. And
yeah, it's such a like a typical sort of role that you hear a lot of footballers now relate back to the roles that grounded them and made them who they are as a player.
Yeah,
a lot of the roots.
Yeah, back then, not back then, it wasn't so long ago, but I had to clean the boots, I had to clean the ice baths, just stuff like that, and you'd be thinking, I'm over here to play football. What do they do making me clean the boot room for? But I suppose they're the kind of things to keep your feet on the ground and realize that you've got to work hard if you're gonna achieve what you want, really.
Yeah, no, brilliant. So obviously you spent numerous years at Blackburn after that, several of which you were out on loan for other clubs. What's it like doing that moment, where you're playing for one club, but then your heart and pride sort of in one place, but then you're playing for another team at the same time as well? Is that sort of like a moment where it can be a bit confusing the first few loans, if that makes sense to you?
Yeah, when I look back at my time at Blackburn now, I don't really say I have any regrets, but sometimes I wish I was a bit more patient, if you know what I mean. Like when you're at that moment in time, you think, you're thinking, why aren't I playing in the first team now? Why aren't I in the first team every week? Why aren't I playing ahead of him? But it doesn't work like that. You have to be patient sometimes. And when I was a kid, 18, 19, these are the things I was thinking. I was thinking I'm good enough to be playing in this team. Like, and looking back now, I probably wasn't. I was. My body wasn't fully developed. I'm not as good as a player as I am now. Looking back, probably thought I was, but looking back now, I wasn't. And I had a year left on my contract, I think, at Blackburn, and I think Burton Albion came in for me to go on loan. They were in League Two at the time, and Gary Rowett was the manager. So the reserve manager at Blackburn just said to me, "Look, I think it'd be good for you to go down and get some games under your belt." But before that, I actually went down just for a few days training to Burton, just to suss it out, and they wanted to take a look at me just to see what way I was and how I'd handle it and stuff. And we played a pre-season friendly against Aston Villa, and I was marking Charles and Zogbia and Darren Bent, I think. I actually started the game at right back because I was quite quick, and I was quite athletic and tall. They wanted a big back four, so what they were actually looking for a right back. I was a centre half. I've never played right back before, maybe the odd 1 or 2 games, but I played really well, and they took me down for a month on loan. Mm-hmm. So I went down, and the first month, I think I got man of the match in the first 3 or 4 games playing right back. I was thinking, this is brilliant. I was thinking, I'm going to go back to Blackburn next month, and I'm going to be playing every week in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't happen like that. But I was enjoying my football so much that Gary Rowett just come to me and said, "I want to keep you for the full season. We think you're brilliant." And I said, "Yeah, I want to stay," because I wanted to get as many games under my belt as I can, and further develop my career. And I ended up spending the whole season there, and got to the playoffs and stuff. Didn't finish. We lost in the semi-final to Bradford, believe it or not.
Yeah. I was doing my research, just reading about how your career, like where you've gone and games you've played against, and it seems every time you seem to have lost like a game, a fixture like that of someone, it seems to be against a team you've previously played for.
Yeah, it's
or due to play for in a few years' time. It seems like a very much round circle for yourself.
Yeah, it's strange. We played Bradford in the semi-final of the playoff, and I remember playing them at Valley Parade, and the place was just packed out, and that kind of just stood in my mind for a long time. I was thinking, Bradford, I was thinking, surely they won't fill that stadium. Played in the semi-final, the place was absolutely packed out, 23,000, whatever it was, and we beat them in that game 3-1, but ended up losing the second leg, or 3-2, I think it was, but we ended up losing the second leg. But that was something that always stuck in my mind, was how the crowd got behind the team there, and the atmosphere. I was thinking, this is unbelievable. And it's funny how things work out, years later, I'm a Bradford City player.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great to see. Obviously, that's I obviously wish you'd have been playing for Bradford maybe in the few earlier years, but I suppose they're valuable life lessons that you've been taught, at least in the life moving up to that. So, doing my research, you've moved around quite a bit. What is it? It's Torquay, Plymouth, Bradford, Aberdeen.
Yeah.
Have I missed any out there?
And
Blackburn.
But I went from Burton to Torquay to Plymouth to back to Burton Albion again.
Yeah, because that was the second time when they were promoted to the Championship, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the one.
Is that what would you say a career highlight for yourself?
It was obviously brilliant to get promoted to the Championship with Burton. Burton, they just come up from League Two that season, so promoted from League Two into League One, first year in League One ever for Burton it was. And I just left Plymouth, and I remember I spent the whole season at Plymouth under John Sheridan, who was the manager at the time, and he played me in holding midfield. So right back to centre back to hold. Left back at times. I was starting to get this name as this versatile player who could play anywhere, kind of a thing. So I think that was attractive to a lot of managers. Being this versatile player, he can fill in a lot of positions, kind of a thing. So I ended up playing the full season at holding midfield at Plymouth, and actually had a really good season. I was really enjoying it, and they offered me a 2-year deal because my contract at Blackburn was finished, and Plymouth wanted to keep me on another 2-year deal, but we actually got to the playoffs that year with Plymouth as well, but lost in the semi-final again. But obviously I was going to base my future on if Plymouth went up to League One, or if they didn't, then I was going to see what options are out there for me to move on. If they did go up, then there was obviously going to be a better chance of me re-signing. But Burton Albion come in for me again. When they went up to League One, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank was the manager.
Yeah.
Former Leeds player, as you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, he come in for me, and I went there, and it was strange because I started off really well and playing a lot of games, and then he left to go to QPR, and Nigel Clough came in to be the manager, and I picked up a hamstring injury, and it was strange because he kind of just didn't play me after that. When I come back from the hamstring injury, I came back in about April, I think it was, and just he never really gave me a look in after that. I think because the team was doing so well, you know, I couldn't really.
Yeah. Hard to fight yourself back into a team that's
when trying to get back into a team that's winning every week, kind of a thing. So, but I still played a lot of games that season for Burton, and you know, it was, when I look back at it now, to be part of a promotion-winning team, it's an unbelievable experience, especially a team like Burton. They're actually favourites to get relegated that year. You know, and people were saying, "Oh, mid-table finish would be good first year in League One," but it just seemed to we just kept seemed to winning every week. It was 1-0. 2-0. We seem to have a lot of 1-0 wins. We seem to score a goal and defending for our lives. It was one of those seasons. It was mad, but absolutely unbelievable. And I remember the bus tour at the end of the year, going around Burton. Obviously, Burton is not a huge place, but the place was packed out because, you know, it was such a great achievement for that club. We went on a holiday and celebrated together. You know, these memories are brilliant, as well as when you remember all the football, all the games and everything.
Yeah.
All those moments you get as well with your teammates celebrating, you know, it's fantastic.
Did you win the year at Burton? Win the league, sorry, that year at Burton, or was it?
We were top of the league more or less all year, but Wigan pipped us at the end. So second, can't complain really. Promotion
don't make a difference, does it really, as long as you're going up?
Yeah.
Would you, from a personal point of view for yourself, would you rather have gone up as first or second, or the playoff route? I mean, taking away previous playoff experience losses, but which would be the route for yourself if you had to pick one to do it again?
A lot of people, when you hear a lot of players talking, you hear them saying, "Oh, the playoffs is the best way to go up." But you know, I don't know if I agree with it. Like, you know what I mean? Why would you want to play an extra 3 games to get promoted when you can just win the league or come second and go up automatically? But people do say that going up through the playoffs is the best way, because you've got to work that just a little bit harder to get up, and you get to play at Wembley in the final, and you know, probably to win at Wembley, and you know, it's probably unbelievable. Win a final at Wembley is probably a great feeling. But me personally, I'd rather win the league.
Just guarantee yourself going up and have it easy.
Because you'd want to win the league, wouldn't you? You're the best team in the league, and if you win the league, but once you get promotion, I suppose it doesn't really matter.
Agreed. It's like myself, Leeds. You know, if Leeds can go up first or second this year, I'm in a different world.
Yeah, I think Leeds will get it this year, no matter what's going to happen now with the hey, my son is talking to me. I'm on the so yeah, I think Leeds will somehow go up this year. They deserve it.
Yeah.
Whatever's going to happen with this coronavirus and talks of football being cancelled and all this, I don't think it's going to happen. I think you got to, same with Liverpool. AJ, I'm on this. Can you go away, please? Call mommy.
Don't worry, mate. Don't worry.
He doesn't realise I'm on this, but yeah, I think Leeds will, will get the benefit of the doubt and hopefully see them in the Premier League. They're a Premier League club anyway. It's not. They should be in the Premier League. It's such a big, great club. So I hope they go up as a Bradford player. But I shouldn't be saying that. But I do hope back in the Premier League.
Yeah, close rivalries and all that. But I think it's a level where you can have respect for a team that have produced all season in and out. It's not just a few games here and there that have run on. Yeah, that they're going up. It's a season sort of long thing, isn't it? I mean, it's obviously with yourself. Bradford's just sitting outside the playoffs at the minute. Obviously, they're hoping that the season can get going. For your point of view, you could probably make that big push then. Last few games at least.
Yeah, it's been a strange one. we started the season really well, and
Mm-hmm.
we were in the top three nearly all the way through, and then we had a dip towards Christmas and January time. We just had a terrible dip. We just seemed to couldn't get out of this bad run of games. And Gary Boyer, who was the manager, who was manager at the start of the season, all the way up till January or February. I think he got sacked in January. Speaking about him now, actually, it's strange because he was the actual academy manager who brought me to Blackburn.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's strange, and he ended up being my Bradford City manager. So, I was a bit disappointed when he got the sack. But Stuart McCall has obviously come in now, who's a Bradford City legend, and he's given a bit of a lift to the place. And it's never nice to see a manager lose his job, but it's just part of the industry, unfortunately. But now Stuart McCall is here, so it's probably bad timing, really, that all this is happening, that he can't really get a run of games now together and stuff. So, but it's one of those things. Football's got to come second now at the minute. It's everyone's health, the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. For the sake of everything going on at the minute, obviously, no crowded situations, stay at home, be safe, and everything like that. It's a sport that's at the forefront of everyone's minds, but can't take the forefront of what we need to be doing. The current moment, but hopefully everything we can get back into it. You can get back into it, and hopefully make that big push for League One.
Yeah, hopefully. As you said, we're just outside the playoffs now, but there's still, hopefully the season can carry on, and we still got 8 or 9 games to go. A lot of football to be played. So one place outside the playoffs, I suppose, is it's not too bad. But hopefully this break will do everyone a bit of good as well. Getting away from it. It can be good at times. So yeah, hope we can get started soon.
We spoke with Chloe Peplow last week. She plays for Tottenham Hotspur Women.
Yeah.
And a few weeks before we went into lockdown and everything, she was injured while playing away with England. So she's actually come back. She was meant to be out for 8-9 weeks. We were speaking last week, and she's done 6-7 weeks now of rehab and back into it. And as it stands, the way, if their league does continue, she can come back in first game week, hopefully.
Yeah, well, there you go. There's obviously pros and cons to this whole thing for football. If you're injured, you got more time to get back for the season. So it's it's one of those things.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're not, you've got 9 games to play in a very short space of time. But again, I think something like that it'll just sort of prove to us that it can be done. I don't see it. I see it happening myself. I can't see us calling an end to leagues for this season, especially when we're sort of that close to the finish.
Yeah, no. When you're 8 or not, if you were only halfway through the season, then you might be able to say, there's no one's really close to going up, or no one's really close to promotion. But this close to the end of the season, you got the likes of Liverpool, who are 25 points clear at the top of the Premier League, and Leeds and West Brom, who are looking more likely to get promoted from the Championship. You can't just take that away from them now, coming so close to the end of the season.
Yeah,
I understand about the relegations and stuff. Like, how can you promote a team and not relegate a team? Something like that. But I don't know. I think they got to try to find something, some sort of conclusion where the season could get ended, whether you hold off again for another month or two and play the final games behind closed doors or whatever it may be. But I think it's got to get finished one way or the other.
Absolutely. So stay away from coronavirus and lockdown and stuff like that. One thing I do want to know is that you've played quite an extensive career now. Been up and down. You've played with a lot of players from academy level up to professional level now. Who's been sort of the most influential in guiding you through your career? From like a player point of view, someone you've played alongside, and the coach's point of view.
Players and coaches. I'd probably say coach-wise, I've had some good managers. I've had some, really good coaches over the years. Gary Boyer would be one, I would say. Obviously he's the one that took me over from Ireland as a young kid, seen the potential in me, I suppose, and he had me as an academy manager. Then he was the reserve manager. He had me in the reserves, and then he ended up becoming the Blackburn Rovers first team manager. And, you know, he had me sniffing around the first team, but obviously that never happened for one reason or the other. And then obviously come back to be my Bradford City manager. So I'd say he's been a big influence on my career. Player-wise, I've played with a lot of good players, you know, learning off so many good players. Trying to think. At Blackburn, there was so many good players that, you know, when they were in the first team and they had to come down to reserves to get some game time, you know, when I played with some of them, brilliant.
Yeah, so that was when Blackburn were the Premier League, weren't it? When you were there. So names of like Morton, Gams, Pedeston, were they there at the time?
Yeah.
And Roque, Santa Cruz.
Yeah, all of them. I remember Martin, you know, I was always quite friendly with Martin. You know, he'd always have a chat with me and always ask me how I was and stuff like that, because when the reserves and the first team are in the same building and the academy is in a different building. So when you get in the reserves, you end up being in the same building all the time as the first team players. So I was quite with the reserves quite quickly. So I was always around the first team players quite young. And I remember playing in my first reserve match when I was 16. Up in the senior training centre, and Sam Allardyce was the manager, I think, at the time. And I was playing. Every other player was a first team player besides me. It was unbelievable. I was looking around me thinking, what's going on here? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why have they called me up to play in this game? But I don't know, was it just a test of character or what, or just to see how I'd handle it or whatever it was. But 16-year-old, and we played Burnley. So the team, if I went through the team now quickly in my head, it was Salgado right back, as you can imagine him playing for Real Madrid and everything. He was playing alongside me. And you had Phil Jones on the other side of me, who's obviously gone on to play for Man United. David Dunn, Brett Emerton, Gams Pedersen, all these players were playing, and I ended up having a really good game. And I remember going back down to the academy thinking I was the bees and knees. Like, I went down. I was going down thinking, like, I shouldn't be down here with you lot. Like, I'm too good for this. Like, but it was unbelievable experience now looking back. But all those players were brilliant to me. David Dunn now to this day still sends me the odd text.
Yeah.
I think he's at Blackpool now. I think he's a coach at Blackpool now. But before that, he was an agent, and he was working with my agency, and he'd come to watch a few of my games at Bradford. And he'd send me the text after the games to say, well done, well played really well, or if he told me if he didn't think I played that well and what I could have done better or whatever, or if he has a bit of banter, he'd bring me up or whatever and just have a crack.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, these kind of lads are brilliant for your career and still are to this day.
Oh, brilliant! But it's nice that you still got that contact with the one from when you were 16 years old in the academy.
Yeah.
You know, I can't imagine what it's like to play alongside some of them names.
Yeah, I remember Salgado. I remember when he was playing, and I was thinking, this guy's won Champions Leagues like with Real Madrid, you know, kind of a thing. And I remember one day in training, he actually grabbed me by the neck. He caught me by the throat. He was telling me something in training. He was trying to tell me what to do or something like that. And I don't know, did I give away a pass or something like that? And I just lost my head and told him where to go, kind of a thing. And
yeah,
I remember he caught me by the throat and said, "Don't ever speak to me like that again." And you know, it was one of them where the reserve manager came over to me at the time and said, "Ant, come on, like, you look what you just said to him, like, look who he is, like, kind of a thing." Like, didn't really say that, but that's what he meant.
Yeah.
And I remember I just said afterwards, I just apologised to him, and he just said, "Oh, no problem." That's all he said, no problem, because these kind of things happen in football, you know what I mean? People fall out with each other on the training pitch, but off the training pitch, then you're friends, you know, what happens on the pitch stays on the pitch, kind of a thing.
Yeah. How old were you at that time? Big grand round
17, 18 maybe, or something like that.
Oh, so like
he's probably thinking, who's this cocky little kid talking to me like?
Brilliant. That's brilliant. So obviously you've come through now such a long time. Have you got any set sort of like pre-game routines or post-game routines that you're like stuck on, like that have to be done? You know, the right sock first and all that stuff.
No, I'm not really one for superstitions. I suppose my day on a match day is I wake up. Sometimes I have breakfast, sometimes I don't. Just depends how I feel, really. Sometimes I don't really like eating too much. I don't like being too full, if you know what I mean. So sometimes I have breakfast, sometimes I wouldn't. If I was having breakfast, it'd be quite light, cereal or a bit of toast or whatever. I'd go back to bed until pre-match meal. I'd have my pre-match meal, which would normally be either poached eggs on toast, a bit of porridge, some fruit. I'd keep it quite simple, really, and just try and drink a good bit of water to make sure I'm hydrated. And then I'd leave my house for the stadium at 1ish, because you normally have to be in an hour and a half before a game. And I presume that's the way at most clubs, usually an hour and a half before the game. So if it was a 3 o'clock kickoff, I'd have to be at the ground for 1:30. So I'd probably leave my house half an hour early and get in, and the manager would have his little chat at about 1:30, and says what he has to say, and then lads will get ready, do what they have to do, have a stretch, have a foam roll, get your massage, stuff like that. And then you're out warming up before you know it, and then you're in. The manager says his little bit again, and then you're ready to go.
Yeah, brilliant. And post game, is there anything is it just sort of more of a chill out, like a relaxed session again, and just sort of get yourself ready to get back to training the next week?
To be fair, actually, I didn't mention this. My pre-game, I have one pre-game, like kind of it's not really a superstition, but it's something I have to do before I put my boots on. I have to get all the dirt out of my boots, or anything that's inside my boot. If it's a bit of fluff, whatever it may be, I have to get it out of my boot. I don't know why, but all the lads say to me, they're like, "What are you doing, blowing into your boots?" So I'm like blowing into my boots, trying to get out of it. And I don't know. That's just one thing I do. I don't know where it's come from. I don't know when I started it, but it's just in my head now, so I have to do it. But I would say that's the only thing I really kind of do that I take notice of. Everything else just comes, just off the hook, really. I try to be quite chilled and relaxed in the dressing room beforehand. Anyway, I'm not really a shouter and a baller and all this. I kind of just trying to stay focused in my mind, and probably shouting at myself in my own head, but not really shouting at everybody else.
Yeah. Get yourself in that right set to go out on the pitch and perform.
Because I was captain last year of the club, so I wasn't really a shouter and baller then. I was kind of more of a captain that would try to just lead by example, if you know what I mean. Kind of do what I have to do on the pitch. I wasn't really a shouter. I would say what I have to say, obviously, at half time and before the game, but not really screaming my head off or anything like that. I was quite calm in that respect.
Yeah. In terms of obviously like changing room atmospheres and environments, have you read any, the hairdryer treatments, the big bust up off managers at half time when something's going wrong?
Have I had it myself? I've had a few, yeah. I'm trying to think now. Was there any real bad ones? Obviously, you get your managers who are screaming their heads off, and swear words are being thrown left, right, and centre, as you can imagine. I remember Kelvin Miller, who plays with me now at Bradford. He's our right back, and I remember he was at Plymouth with me as well.
Yeah.
And this is not really a hairdryer moment, but it's just something that's funny and it sticks in my mind. Like we played, I can't remember who we played someone away from home anyway, and John Sheridan, his one-liners were brilliant, like funny as anything. And I remember Calvin, like, is quite relaxed. He's like the most chilled out fella you'd ever see in your life, like even on the pitch, like so chilled out, doesn't open his mouth really. I remember we lost the game and John Sheridan comes in and just stayed quiet for about a minute or two, and we're all looking at him thinking, what's he going to say? And he's scratching his head like this, and he's gone, I can't believe I've got, and he says effing, as you can imagine what the word is. He says, I can't believe I've got effing Bob Marley playing right back for me. And it was just, it came out of nowhere, and it was like you weren't expecting it at all. And I remember the lads were just like, the lads' shoulders were going like laughing, or like couldn't really burst out laughing, but it was so funny at the time. Like, and it wasn't really a hairdryer moment, but like you get those funny little comments all the time from managers. Like, I don't know, do they do it on purpose or what? To just trying to lighten the mood or whatever. But a real bad hairdryer moment, I've had a couple where the manager's absolutely in my face and screaming his head off me. Like Gary Boyer recently, to be fair. It was actually the game. It was actually the game before he got sacked. I don't know if I should be saying it, but it's one of those. We played Oldham away, and I slipped for the first goal. I mean, that was the most it was so unfortunate. I didn't mean to slip. So
Yeah.
the ball's coming to me, and I've planted my left foot to obviously play a pass. And as I've planted my left foot's gone from underneath me. And as you can imagine, I'm a centre half. I'm the last line of defence. I've slipped. The lad's running through on goal, and he's put it in the net. 1-0 down. First 5-10 minutes it was. Oh God, I was thinking, here we go. We ended up losing the game 3-0 in the dressing room. He's this close to my face, like, and he's absolutely going ballistic.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he turned around in the end. He said, "Right, I know you didn't mean to slip, but it doesn't matter." Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't matter if you mean to slip or not. He's still screaming his head off, and he's saying, "This is the last game you're going to play for me," and this, that, and the other thing, screaming his head off. Then, but you just, you know what I mean? You just take it with a pinch of salt, really. You know, at the time, you're probably thinking, "Oh God, this is the end of the world," but they probably don't mean it all what they say. Do you know what I mean? If you were put yourself in their shoes, if you were a manager and you know your job was on the line, it's different for us as players. You know, we can't really get the sack or anything. Do you know what I mean? We're kind of contracted, and you know, if we make a mistake, then you know we can put it right the week after. But if you're a manager, you know, you don't know if you're going to get next week, especially if you're having a bad run of results. So you know, we feel a bit of responsibility for him losing his job, but that was one moment that sticks in mind as well from this season.
Do you see players sort of either rise to that or sort of quiver away if they've had a hairdressing in front of everybody?
Everyone's different. Some people will take it on the chin and go, right, I'll show you, you know, kind of a thing. And some people will just, you know, crumble from it. It just depends what your character is like and how strong you are in the head, really. Me personally, I can take it. I've had it before loads of times, and I knew what he was like anyway because I had him as an academy manager, as I've said, a reserve manager. So I've had bollockings from him before. I've had, you know, him, you know, having screamed his head off me before, and then the next day he's your best mate, kind of a thing. So I knew what he was like, but I've had it from other managers as well. So it's one of them where you just take it on the chin and try and prove him wrong. Because when he come in as manager, start of the season or last season, sorry. End of last season, he became manager. But start of the season, I wasn't sure if he was going to play me every week or what. I don't know what his thinking was. And he signed a couple of centre halves. And he signed Paddy O'Connor, who was come from Leeds.
Young lad.
Signed Paddy. Signed another big lad, 6'4", Ben Richards. Everton signed him. So I was thinking, he's bringing in these centre halves. You know, I'm not sure if he's looking to replace me or what. But from the first game, I played the first game, and I didn't come out of the team. You know, I was playing that well, and I think that's just good man management from him. You know, if you play well, you stay in the team, kind of thing. And he probably brought in those players, and I went to see him, and I said, "Listen, what's going on? Am I going to play? Or am I not going to play?" And he said, "I'm bringing in these players because we need competition. You know, we need competition in this area. So if you're playing well, you're going to play." And you know, that's all he said. You know, if you're doing the business on the pitch, you're going to play. So I kind of just took that in my stride, really, and thought to myself, well, I know that in my own mind, I think that I'm better than these players. So, do you know what I mean? I'm going to prove it. And, you know,
like a bit more reverse psychology, sort of, in a way, for you to play better, bringing other people that might take you off the pitch.
Yeah, well, and probably in his thinking at the start, he was probably bringing in these players thinking these are going to be my centre halves, but you know, then he's kind of seen how well I was playing and thought, I can't take Anthony out, like can't take him out of the team. So I've managed to stay in the team the whole way through the season, which I'm very grateful for, and hopefully I've repaid him with performances. You know, but obviously the team have let him down in the end. He's lost his job, but you know, it's one of those things, I suppose, with football.
Sad times, obviously. I see. Obviously, there's Lee doing fairly well down at Charlton, so you never know. There could be the next the Cowley brothers at some point. Brilliant. One thing I do have to know, obviously, you are on FIFA now. Do you play as yourself? Have you taken Bradford all the way to the Champions League?
I don't play much FIFA, being honest with you. No, I used to when I was younger a lot. Like I used to play a lot of FIFA, but I don't really play much FIFA now. Obviously, I know I'm on the game, and you know my younger cousins and that would send me the odd Snapchat of me, you know, of them playing with me on FIFA and stuff. But me personally, I don't really read too much into it. I'm not much. Yeah, my son now is 7, so he's like kind of getting into it now kind of a bit. He's not much into football at the minute, but I think as he gets older, he'll get more into it and probably see me on the game. Hopefully, he's getting to the age now where he understands that I'm a football player and he watches me at games and stuff.
Yeah.
You can hear him screaming in the background there.
Yeah, really. Little story for you. I don't know if Graham will appreciate this. Graham, who you probably spoke with before, when you were signing up with the course with ourselves, he on FIFA, he got quite into FIFA at one stage and decided to do a career mode with Bradford City. Okay. Took him all the way to the Champions League.
Did he?
So I think you were there, mate. I think in his head you're a Champions League winner.
Oh, still to be a Champions League winner.
I know, mate. Imagine. So you played Europa League, wasn't it, when you were up at Aberdeen?
Yeah, we played in the qualifiers for the Europa League, and been to some countries where it's quite. It can look quite intimidating, playing in these foreign countries. And we played a team called Apollon Limassol. They were from Cyprus, and they actually qualified for the Europa League that year. But we played them in the last. I think it was the last qualifying round or the third round or something like that anyway. But we beat them 2-1 at Pittodrie, which was our home ground. We beat them 2-1 and we went to their place. And I remember just fireworks and all sorts being thrown on the pitch, smoke everywhere. They ended up beating us 2-0 in the end. So they went through on the away goal. But it was an unbelievable experience. My time, when I look back at my time at Aberdeen, it was unbelievable. Honestly, such a great club. Similar to Bradford in a lot of ways, with the crowd and stuff like that. They get really good crowd and really good family club. Great people there. Some friends that I've made there that I'll remember forever. Is he screaming at? Can you hear him screaming?
Yeah.
Aberdeen was fantastic for my career. Derek McGuinness was the manager. Unbelievable. Probably I would turn around and say he's the best manager that I've worked with in terms of everything. Management, being good to his players, knowing what to say at the right time, joins in training all the time, has banter with the lads. Probably the best manager that I've worked with, and I've said that before. He's probably up there, if not the best manager that I've played with. And he wanted me to stay on a longer contract. I stayed there for 2 years and more or less played every game for him. And he wanted me to sign me on a long deal. he wanted to sign me on a longer deal, 3 or 4 year deal, and make me commit my long-term future there. But I don't know. I just seen my future back in England really, and Bradford come in for me, and obviously I thought Bradford were a big club and pushing to get into the Championship, and obviously things haven't happened, for whatever reasons. But Aberdeen was a great club to be at.
Yeah, with moving around like all these clubs and places and stuff like that, do your family sort of move with you everywhere you go, or is it sort of you'll just sort of go off maybe if it's not going to be long term, and live there yourself for a few months?
I lived in Aberdeen on my own mostly when I was up there, because it's obviously a long way to go. It's right up north, so I went up there more or less on my own, and the missus would travel up whenever she could, and I'd come back down or whatever it was. But it can be tough sometimes. Obviously, being a footballer, you never know where you're going to be in 2-3 years' time. You could be at a new club. Some people are fortunate enough to spend their whole lives at one club, and but for a lot of players, moving around can be a big part of your life. And for me, it's been a big part so far in my life. I've been up and down the country, been from down the bottom to Plymouth and Torquay and places like this, to up the top to Aberdeen, and now I'm in Leeds. So I've just bought a house now here in Leeds, which I'm obviously living in at the moment. So hopefully I can settle here for a good number of years anyway. Hopefully.
The foreseeable. No, brilliant. So moving away to future life for yourself, obviously you're currently taking personal training with ourselves on our course, but have you got any plans for future life, maybe after your career, that you're drawing on, whether it be from personal training, coaching, or anything like that?
Well, I'm 27 now, so obviously I'm hoping to play football for
Another 7-8 years at least.
Yeah, I'm hoping to play up till I'm 35 anyway, at least. I'm quite fit. Touch wood, I've always been injury free. I've never really had a bad injury. Hopefully I managed to stay clear of injuries. I've managed to always play 35, 40, 50 games every season. I've got a good 300-400 games under my belt now. So in that way, when you look at it, you probably think, yeah, he could play till he's 35. He always stays injury free, but you never know what's around the corner. So I've done my coaching badges. I've done my UEFA B coaching badge last year, so I've got that ticked off. I've obviously started the personal training now with yourselves, and that's something that I'm, really, really looking forward to getting done as well. It's something that I'm passionate about. Even when I was at Blackburn and places like this, I would always speak to the head of sports science about certain things. If I was doing a gym workout, and I would ask him, what does this exercise do for your body? What does this do? What does this do? I was always asking questions. I was always intrigued about the body and and what all that stuff brings. So that's why I got into personal training. I think I love being fit. I love training. As I said to you a while ago, I'll just get up and run half a marathon the other day for no reason at all, just because I wanted to test my body and test how far I could take it. So it's one of those where I love exercising, and if it gives me a reason as well to stay fit, if I ended up being a personal trainer after football, and it gives me a reason to want to stay healthy and stay fit as well, then that's great also. But I suppose I'll know more in a few years to come what I'm going to do. I suppose, but to have this qualification under my belt, hopefully I'll get it in the next few months. It'll be great for me, and I definitely see myself doing something with it in the future.
Yeah, it's a lot of transferable skills as well. Obviously from the game, it's all stuff that you've done, so it should hopefully be no problem for yourself.
Yeah.
Just to draw us to a close, then. One question I am sort of asking everyone who comes on who's from the football family: if you could play with anybody, past or present, who would it be and why?
Past or present? I suppose the obvious answer is obviously going to be Messi or Ronaldo, isn't it? But
yeah,
I suppose if I could play with anyone, probably present or more my time anyway, it would definitely be Messi or Gerrard, I would say.
Yeah.
Gerrard was kind of my hero growing up for Liverpool. He was the one I kind of looked to and loved watching play for Liverpool. Obviously, I was a Liverpool fan, so he was kind of like my idol, my hero kind of thing. But imagine playing with Messi. Oh my God. You just let him do everything, wouldn't you?
You just be like, crack on, mate. Just go for it.
But position specific, then if I wanted to play alongside someone at centre half, there's a few that come to mind really, like centre halves that I've always looked up to. John Terry being one, unbelievable player, unbelievable career. Vidic, another one who these are players that I try to take little things from their games and add them to mine. John Terry was a leader, unbelievable technique, read the game so well. Vidic was just a warrior and put his body in front of everything.
Hard as nails, that man. Stupid.
Unbelievable in the air, heading the ball. So I try to take things from their games and add them to mine. There's a lot of players I could mention, but those two would probably be the two centre halves that I'd love to play alongside, and Gerrard and Messi would be the probably players that overall I would love to play with.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for that, Anthony. It's been an inspiring podcast, and I hope the students take something outside the back of that from yourself. If you do have any questions, guys, please feel free to shoot us across, and we'll try and get Anthony back in the future. In a few years' time, everybody's playing Premier League football, and we can see what it is from there. So, okay, guys, thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for joining us, Anthony.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.